Hey guys, it's Joel with Reload, and I'm going to show you how to butcher and deconstruct the rear hind quarter of a white-tailed deer. Now, one of the first things you want to look at here is on this white-tailed hind quarter, it's covered in silver skin and it's got some fat on it. And what we're going to want to do is remove all of this stuff, all this thin membrane, get that all off there so we can see beautiful red venison. What I'm going to be using is a fillet knife. I like to use a fillet knife for this because it has some flexibility to it, as well as it's super sharp and it makes getting off the silver skin and that fat way easier than a traditional hunting knife. What I'm going to try to do, guys, is use just the tip of the knife here. I'm using pressure to pull away as I'm cutting on the silver skin. This is, correction, this stuff right here is going to be called sinew, not silver skin. You can see how I just touch the blade that it just peels right out when applying pressure. This hard waxy fat that's on here, it's unpleasant. You want to get as much of that off as you can, because you definitely don't want to be eating any of that. So y'all listen, there's two reasons why you want to do something like this. One, it's way cheaper than having it butchered by a processor. Doing it yourself, it's way more gratifying and it's way cheaper. Number two, you can select every meal that comes out of it this way. You can take every muscle segment, which we're about to get into here in a minute, and you can decide what you want to do with that particular muscle group and create an entire menu around this one hind quarter. So that's about good enough for this side right here. All these little spots that are on here, that's gonna, when we desegment the muscle groups, we can pop those off, or most of them, if you do a hot cook, are just gonna melt off anyway. So we're gonna turn this thing over. Same thing on the other side. After you get everything cleaned up, we are gonna start taking off primary muscle groups off the hind quarter. The first thing you want to do is you want to find this ball joint. So we want to start with the hind quarter flipped upside down, where you can see this exposed ball joint here. From here to here, you can see that's where the knee is. That's going to be a straight shot. So we've got a thin layer of meat right here. And all we're going to do is we're going to follow this seam. Most of everything we're going to do here is just following the seams of all the muscle groups. So we're not actually going to be cutting into a lot of meat here. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to make a small little cut right here. And I'm going to follow that seam. See how I'm peeling it back like this? It's not very deep. All the way up to here, where the ball is. And you can hear that. See here, listen. That's when we're on the femur. And then all we're going to do from there is follow that femur down. Kind of pulling, see when I pull the meat apart here, how it kind of separates the seam? That's what you're looking for right there. Separating those seams. And do not get butt hurt if you happen to get into a little bit of meat or make a bad cut. You can easily clean it up and move it on down. Now I'm going to spin this around a little bit so you can see a little better. Here's our femur. We're going to peel back on the meat here, exposing it. Now see all these silver skin, these right here, that's holding this to it. Give that a little flip. Oh yeah, you can feel the pressure relief off of it. And from there, you're just going to follow that bone around all the way down till we get into this. Start moving it around that socket. This little part right here That's the kneecap. I'm gonna move it on around, down and around it. Now right here, this part can get tricky when you're new to this. So right in here, this little tail, you can see right there, that's the shank muscle. That muscle is tucked in underneath right here. So what I want to do from here, instead of pulling the whole leg out, I want to start pulling these groups off so that you can see it as it unfolds layer by layer. So right here, I'm gonna take my thumb. I found me a crease. Peel that off. And I'm gonna follow the seam. I'm telling you guys, there's just something gratifying about doing this. Look, you can see right here I've exposed this cut. This is the eye of round. What I'm holding here is the top round that's in my hand. Look at that right there. This thin piece of meat that's on top right here, so you could peel that off. You could do you a really hot and fast steak for breakfast, or you can do what I normally do. It's very thin. You can just add it to your grinder. I am now peeling out the eye of round. Oop, getting a little crazy there. It's best to just take your time. Don't get in a rush. You'll either cut a finger or mess up your meat. Okay, so right here, guys, this is something that's important. Right in this area right here. There is a gland in there. You can see it right here. If you want to zoom in there, this pocket of fat right here holds a gland. Especially with bucks, you don't want to get into this. So once you remove those two cuts I just showed you, you want to pull this up. Again, follow the seams and just cut this little bit of fat out right here. We don't want to start hacking into this because you don't want that all over your knife, this gland here, to spreading all over your meat. It's nasty. So now that we've gotten these two muscle groups off, the eye of round and the top round, okay? Now that we've gotten those two muscle groups off of there, we've got the whole femur exposed. This is gonna be easy to go ahead and take out so we can get to the rest of it. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lift slightly. You can see right here, there's a layer of meat. I'm just going to push my knife through that, cutting down to the knee. Not all the way, because I don't want to get into this shank meat yet. But we're gonna cut down till I meet some resistance. Then I'm gonna come back up here, do the same thing, and cut right around it. Follow right along, right there. All right, so now, this is the best part right here. Let me get this back where you can see it. I can lift this up and we can let gravity do a lot of our work. Get this kneecap out of the way. I'm just, look at that, I'm just barely, oh, you guys can't see it on the camera there. I'm just barely touching it. We can actually peel this up. Okay. And this is our shank meat. All of this right here, if you have a bandsaw or sawzall, you can chop this bone here with the meat on and make ossobuco. You can take this all the way off, which I'm going to show you here in a minute. Actually, I'll just go ahead and do it now. If you follow right here, the knee, we go in right inside of there, and we just start cutting it away. You can see how it breaks open right there, okay? We're going to come down the femur here. When we get to the knee again, keep moving it around. It's easier if I clean this up for you guys to see. There it is, okay. You can see right here, contour, and right there is the rest of it. Cut around it. Same thing on the other side. Just tracing that bone line, and eventually you'll hit that seam, and you can cut this right out. All right, so that's good for the doggies, or if you want to make some bone stock. Now, right here with this, the shank, we can take that, we can desegment this, or we can leave it whole. We can braise it and we can roast it, and we can put it into a crock pot. All right, so now we're left with this cut. Doesn't look very familiar. We flip it over. That looks a little more like it was when we started here, okay? So what we have here now, guys, what we have here is our bottom round, and we have our sirloin. So, and we have our tri-tip, and what was the last one? The rump cut. So we've got the last 4 cuts. The rump cut's one of my favorite cuts that's on there. So check this out right here. We're gonna dig in. Again, starting with the seams all the way around there. This football looking piece right here is the one that is the sirloin. So look, you see how I'm peeling back? I just peel back and then I let the knife do the work. Just barely little flicks. There you go. Open it up right there, look at that. Look how easy that is. And lift the meat. Lift the meat where you can see where it's wanting to pull away from. Oops, got into that one a little bit. So there is your top round right here. I'm sorry, bottom round right there. This is a great cut if you want to do jerky, if you want to do some steaks, stew meat, all of the above. This is an awesome cut. I love eating it. Look at the grains in that. They say this is tough, but it's venison, guys. Some of my favorite cuts come out of this hind quarter. All right, so here we go. This little guy right here. This little guy is the tri-tip, y'all. Most people miss it. They miss it and it gets put into the grind pile, but it is a tender little cut that you don't want to miss, the tri-tip. Following around the top of the sirloin here. And then you can see right here, there's a little seam that we're just gonna get into. Look at that. And there you go. Look at that. It's a little bitty guy. But that is the tri-tip. Great little thing for steaks, quesadillas, tacos, all of that jazz. Or just by itself. This tri-tip cut is fantastic. Last but not least, one more seam to go. And we have our rump, or the butt. I used to call this a knuckle steak because it resided right there on the top of the hip, but it is a juicy, pliable, tender, moist, amazing cut that you do not want to miss. This thing by itself, we save these in I don't know the other word, but just regard these highly in our wild game freezer. Okay, this cut right here, this sirloin cut, I leave this whole. I'll clean this jazz off right here. This is silver skin, shiny, tough. You want to get that stuff off, okay? I recommend not freezing any of this stuff. See, the rest of that, I'm sorry, the rest of that was that kneecap from the shank right there. That's why I cut straight down on that. but I recommend not freezing your meat with a lot of fat or silver skin on. It can leave an unpleasant taste when you thaw it out, and I just recommend getting as much off as you can. This cut right here is full. It's layered with tons of silver skin, tons of sinew and all that. But what I like to do is slow cook these. I like to put them in the smoker so it can slowly break all that down. A lot of rumors are with silver skin that it'll make a cut really tough, but cooked properly, it breaks down and is beautiful. Okay, so that's it, guys. Let me lay this stuff out for you. We'll go over the cuts one more time. I tried to get things in order. I pulled them off. We have the top round right here, this big sucker. We have the eye round, and we have the bottom round. Then from there, we went with the shank. That's over there by the knee, where we cut the knee off here. We have the tri-tip. We're going over with the sirloin, and then we ended things out with the rump, that juicy, delicious piece of meat that you're gonna want to always save. So that's it, guys. Check it out. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you do, share that jazz. Hit that subscribe button, y'all, because we want to show you many more videos like this, as well as recipes from Reload. I'm Joel. We'll see you on the next one.